Chris here, and welcome to my channel. In today's video, I'm here to share with you my TBR for the Reindeer Readathon. This is a month-long readathon hosted by Eric from Break Even Books, and I have participated several years now and absolutely love it. I went into December knowing there was 2 readathons I was absolutely doing, and this was one of them, so I'm very, very excited to be participating once again. This year, I am on Team Mistletoe, and I just absolutely can't wait. So this is a team-based readathon, and we're all assigned our teams, so it's even. Each prompt has points that correspond with it. There are 9 reindeer prompts. There are 5 Christmas prompts, and those have to be doubled up with one of your reindeer prompts. Otherwise, there is no doubling up. And if you manage to finish all 9 of your reindeer prompts, you can do slaying it. But you can't do slaying it until you've done all of your other prompts. So let's start with Dasher. This will get me 10 points, and for this you need to read a list recommendation, which means you need to read a book you found on a list as recommended, and one of the lists I came across was a banned books list, so I decided I'm going to read To Kill a Mockingbird. I don't know anything about this really, other than it's a classic, and it is a commonly banned book. I've heard that a lot of people really, really enjoy it, and I'm very excited to check it out and see what I think of it. I'm also using this for the Christmas tree prompt, which will get me 20 points, and it's a book you wouldn't normally go for, because I don't typically pick up classics unless I am prompted. So I thought this was perfect to stick there and combine with my Dancer prompt. Then for 15 points, we can do Dancer's prompt, which is to read a book that matches your favorite genre of music. And I'm going with Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. So I have heard this is kind of a cozy fantasy, and my favorite type of music is specifically bubblegum pop. Not just pop music, but like bubblegum pop music. And when I listen to bubblegum pop, which is usually some sort of flavor of boy band, I get the warm fuzzies, but with a little bit of joy sprinkled in. And I have found that all of the cozy fantasies I've read give me the warm fuzzies with a little bit of joy sprinkled in, which separates this from like a cozy mystery, because usually there's dead bodies in those. So they don't give me quite the same feeling as a cozy fantasy. I have read a couple of other books by Heather Fawcett, though I think they're both middle grade, and I really enjoyed them. I've heard some people don't love this because of the writing style, but given that I've read some of her other stuff, I'm hopeful I will enjoy it, and it felt like the perfect time to put it on my TBR, because this is a book I've wanted to get to for ages. Next, for another 10 points, is the Prancer prompt. And the prompt for this is to read a book whose description mentions a date or event. So I'm going to be reading The Ghost of Christmas Granny. And this is a little novella in the Granny Apples mystery series. I've really, really loved this series. And it says, a few weeks before Christmas, medium Emma Whitecastle begins hearing the voice of a young boy named Caleb asking for help. So Emma, in the first book, realizes she can see and hear ghosts, and we've kind of seen her journey with that and how she helps various ghosts throughout the books. The event that's mentioned is obviously Christmas. I will also be using this for Christmas lights to read an ebook, which will get me another 15 points because I own the ebook copy of this book, and I thought it was perfect. Since I don't read a ton of ebooks, and when I do, I prefer they be shorter because ebooks tend to bother my eyes. So I thought this was the perfect way to kind of combine those 2 prompts and also read a book I'd hope to get to at Christmas time. So next up, for 15 points, I can do Vixen's prompt, and that is to read a book you didn't buy, and I will be reading The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue. This is, I believe, a historical fiction kind of mystery. So in this one, we're following Henry, who goes to the finest boarding schools, but somehow still manages to earn the disapproval of his father. He's on a grand tour of Europe when he gets the news that his father wants him to take over the family's estate. And he's also nursing a crush on his best friend, Percy. He vows to make this last year-long trip end with a hurrah, even though his little sister's in tow. However, a decision he makes turns everything on its head and turns everything into a harrowing manhunt that spans across Europe. So it sounds really, really intriguing. I'm very curious to see how Monty and Percy's relationship develops in this. I want to know what Monty did to create such craziness on their trip, and I'm curious to see how the manhunt turns out. I get an extra 25 points for this one because I'm reading it for Christmas Star, which is to read a book over 500 pages. And this one clocks in at 501, so just barely over 500 pages, but it counts. And I'm very, very excited to be able to check this one out. So next up, I have a 15-point prompt for comment, and that is to read a book whose page count ends in the same last digit as your birth date. So I was born on the 23rd. So I need to find a book that ends in the number 3. And I'm going to read Under the Egg. This book ends on page 243. And this took me ages to find because I'm combining it with the Christmas Elf prompt, which will get me 15 points, which is to read a book that has been on your TBR for a while. And so I was looking at all of the books I hauled in 2021 or earlier, because I only have a few from before 2021 at this point. And I was like, I'm going to read one of the oldest books that's on my shelf. And I swear I could find every single number but 3. And then I took a break and I came back and I found like 6. But I literally spent an hour I feel like trying to find the books on my shelves that were from 2021 and then look at them to see what number their page ended in. And I'm almost positive I found every number but 3 until I took a break because I was getting frustrated. And when I came back, it was like they were flying off the shelves. And this is the one that seemed most interesting. This is a middle grade mystery, and it says only 2 people know about the masterpiece hidden in the 10-penny home. And one of them is dead. So I'm very, very curious about this one. Like I said, it sounded the most interesting of my options. Not that I don't want to get to the other ones, but I was going, which one feels most like what I want to read right now? So we're going to go with this one. And we are going to eliminate one of those oldest books on my TBR by reading this one. And hopefully I enjoy it, especially considering all the work that went into finding this specific book for me to read for this prompt. Next up for 10 points is Cupid, and you need to read a book from a 5-star author. And for this, I'm reading The Galaxy and the Ground Within by Becky Chambers. I've read 5 books by Becky Chambers, and I believe I've given 4 of them 5 stars, so this was a pretty easy call for me. This is the 4th book in the Wayfarer series. It is a cozy sci-fi series that I've absolutely adored. I'm also combining this with the Christmas Carols prompt to get 20 extra points for reading the audiobook, because I will most likely listen to this on audiobook, if not immersion read. But I will definitely be listening to the audiobook probably for most of my read of this. I don't know who we're following in this one because every book has followed different characters. So I'm very, very curious to see who we're following in this one and how it ties into the greater world that Becky has written. I am buddy reading this with my friend Omi. We read the first book back in June for my queer book club, and I never expected to love it as much as I did. So I'm very thankful that everybody voted for that one, because that would have been the last one I chose to vote for. So I'm glad it won, and I'm glad that I got exposed to the series, and I've just absolutely loved it, and I can't wait to see how it wraps up, because I believe this is the final book, if not is the most recent, and either way it catches me up on a series too, which is always good at the end of the year. So next up for 15 points, we have to do Blitzen's prompt, which is to pick 3 books that start with the same letter and randomly choose one. So the 3 books I'm going to pick from are October's Ocean, Once Upon an Eid, and Anyeka and the Academy of the Sun. I thought it was interesting that I had 3 books whose titles started with O on my TBR. I've created a spinner wheel. I've put each of them on here 3 times just to kind of fill it up. And I'm going to shuffle it just a few times to mix them up a little bit. And then we'll spin. Here is it randomly choosing which of these 3 books I'm going to read for this prompt. Once Upon an Eid. So this is a collection of stories of hope and joy by 15 Muslim authors. I am very, very excited about this. I am quite looking forward to learning more about Eid and having some positive stories on my TBR, because there are parts of the holiday season that can sometimes make me sad. So the idea that I have a book that is filled with hope and joy on my TBR is very uplifting. I am quite curious to see what happens to these people in their stories, what stories they choose to tell, and like I said, to learn a little bit more about Eid, because I don't really know anything about it other than that I've heard it mentioned, and I know it's a holiday, so I feel like not only is this going to be a book with a lot of maybe, like I said, heart uplifting positive stories, but also one that teaches me something, and I love learning, so I was very, very happy to be able to pick this book out, and I'm very happy that the wheel chose this specific one, because I think if I had to pick, this is also the one I would have chosen. Then we have Donner, and we get 20 points for this, and we basically had to go to a word search, and the first 4 words that we found on the word search, one of those things had to be on the cover, and I saw Battle, Stars, Flower, and Canine. So I went with Canine, and I'm going to read The Last Curtain Call by Juliet Blackwell. As you can see, there's a cute little puppy on the cover. This is, I want to say, the 9th book in the Haunted Home Renovation Mystery Series. It's the most recent book, if not the final book. And it follows Mel, who in the first book is working at her dad's construction company, has kind of taken it over. And she works to restore like older houses, and a friend hires her for a job. And another guy that is somehow involved ends up dead after being shot to death with a nail gun, I believe, if memory serves. And then all of a sudden she can see his ghost. And she is very, very confused about this. So basically we have Mel, who restores old houses and has been dealing with this fact that she can kind of see ghosts. I wouldn't say this is my favorite cozy mystery series, but I do quite enjoy it. I have no idea what's going to happen in this one. I'm very excited to be picking the series back up and diving back into it and catching up on it / finishing it before the end of the year. And when I saw Canine, I immediately knew exactly what series I was going to pick up. And then the last of our reindeer prompts is Rudolph. And for 15 points, I need to read a debut novel, so I will be reading The Teller of Small Fortunes by Julie Leong. This is another cozy fantasy. A wandering fortune teller finds an unexpected family in this warm and wonderful debut fantasy, perfect for readers of Travis Baldree and Sengu Mandana. I've read both of them and really enjoyed what I've read of theirs, so that kind of sold me on this. I'm really loving all of the cozy fantasy I've come across, and I saw this cover and went, yes, I must have. So this is also a bit of a cover buy. I don't really know much more about it than that, and I don't really want to. I just cannot wait to read this, and I hope that I absolutely adore it. And that brings me to the last prompt. So if I manage to read all of the books I just mentioned, I get to do the Slaying It prompt, which gets my team an extra 50 points. And I can redo any of the reindeer prompts that I want to do. So what I'm going to do if I get this far is to redo Cupid's prompt, read a book from a 5-star author, by reading Unraveled. This is the most recent book in the Keepers of the Lost City series. It is book 9.5, and I cannot wait to get my hands on this. I have pre-ordered it, so it should be here with plenty of time for me to read it before the end of the year. I want to say it comes out like the 9th. So unless it gets pushed back again, I should be fine. If that happens, there are several other 5-star authors that are on my TBR that I could use for this particular prompt, but I really want it to be Unraveled. I would say The Keeper of the Lost Cities is one of my top 5 series ever. So I am just so incredibly excited to read this book and see why Shannon Messenger thought we needed this one. She has made it very, very clear that it is an important piece to the puzzle, but it's not book 10. It's not the story she intended to tell with book 10, but that she realized she couldn't tell the story of book 10 without telling this story first. So I'm very, very curious to see what happens in this and try to see if I can puzzle out in this one why we needed it, or if I need to wait for book 10 for book 9.5 to make sense. But either way, I'm absolutely excited, and I know I'm going to devour this book once it gets here. So that is my TBR. I'm very, very excited to be participating again. I've got a lot of books I'm really excited about on this TBR. I've got a few I'm a little nervous about, mainly Under the Egg and To Kill a Mockingbird, because this one intimidates me, and this one is a bit of a crapshoot because I have no idea whether it's good or not. I haven't ever heard anybody mention it. I believe I found that one in a little free library. I'm very, very curious about those, but a little bit nervous, whereas the other ones, for the most part, seem to be either from authors I've already read or genres I know I really, really like, or things I've heard some positive things about. So we'll see. I would like to thank Eric for once again hosting this readathon. It is one I look forward to every single year, and I'm so excited to be taking part again. And let's go Team Mistletoe! All of my social media is linked in the description below if you'd like to come chat with me. If you've made it this far in the video, leave me reindeer emojis. There's got to be reindeer emojis, right? If not, Christmassy emojis. Like this video and subscribe to my channel, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye!